Hey guys, it's Chelsea from The Financial Diet, and today I'm here with someone that you may have briefly seen a picture of or at least heard about in other videos. It's our managing editor, Holly.
Hello.
Holly's the one who kind of manages a lot of the content that you'll see every day on thefinancialdiet.com. She also writes for the site and does lots of other fun editing stuff as well. But today we specifically wanted to talk to her about something interesting and kind of scary that happened to her about a year ago. Basically, it's likely that in the years between, let's say, 16 and when you die, that you're going to find yourself in a job that wasn't exactly what you thought it would be. There's totally varying degrees of this, but as we've discussed before, it's very important to not only remember your rights as an employee, but also as someone who's looking for work. It's very easy to be preyed upon. And Holly found herself in a job that was, let's just say, not as advertised. So we wanted to talk a little bit about her experience and what she learned from it and how you can maybe avoid some of those same mistakes. So first and foremost, what was this job and how did you find it?
I found it on a job posting website. I believe it was Indeed. It could have been Craigslist because I was looking there at the time. And that's just like a 50-50 shot. It's not a real thing.
Or if it is a real thing, it could be a very scary real thing.
It could be a very scary real thing. This was a company that was going to be putting on events featuring different artists in the New York community and then expand to different cities. And what I was brought on to do was be, as the editorial assistant, we were going to have different posts every day or week, and we were going to shine a light on this community that people don't know about. And it was going to incorporate a membership program so people could buy into it and get invited to these exclusive events. And then I would be taking care of the content part of the site.
Did you see any red flags when you were interviewing?
No, not when I was interviewing. I think I started seeing red flags pretty soon after I started working there. Right off the bat, I was not offered a contract to sign.
Yikes. That's when you hit the bricks, if you're asking me.
So I asked for one. I asked for one the first day. The guy, the founder of the company, he seemed very taken aback and impressed that I would ask for something in writing.
Impressed?
Seemed impressed. And
wow.
So he emailed me a confirmation of my start date and salary and position. And he had me respond to it, and that was our contract. Other early red flags were, we ended up moving co-working spaces about 4 times in the 2.5 months I was there, because I'm pretty sure he just wasn't paying for any of his rent in any of these buildings. But he kept acting like he was just not happy with the environment and it wasn't what our company was about.
Now, I know when you wrote about this, you talked about how there was someone, I think, above you in the company, and that also seemed like a source of craziness.
Absolutely. I was the editorial assistant, and there was a woman above me who was the editor-in-chief. So she was in charge of interviewing the artists that we would bring on and also finding them, and I would be doing supplemental content and just assisting with all of that. After I was there for about 2 weeks, I'd gotten 1 paycheck in cash, which we'll get to. And the day after that, the woman who was the editor-in-chief was not there, and the book I had lent her was sitting at my desk, and he sat me down and explained he had let her go because he did not appreciate how unprofessional she was, because she came to work 15 minutes late sometimes, and he offered me her role. So at the time I was very excited because it was an automatic pay increase, a title increase, and it was something that I didn't see for myself happening for a very long time. So it was very exciting to me.
Now, you mentioned something about being paid in cash, and I know the whole payment drama is sort of what led to this spiraling out of control. So can you tell us what happened there?
Right around the time that it was my first payday, my boss told me that there was something wrong with the payment system he had set up. So I wasn't going to be able to get paid for a while through whatever direct deposit thing he set up. So he took me to his bank and took out cash and gave it to me then. And I just wanted to get paid, so that was fine with me. I thought it was a little bit iffy. And yeah, that was the only time I got paid.
So how much longer after that did you still work for them?
About 2 months.
So you were owed 4 more paychecks?
Yes. After the first paycheck, then came the second one, and he had another excuse. He said it was actually going to be coming the next day, and then the next day, because he was just figuring out the system. And then it got to the point where it had been over 3 weeks, and I was owed 2 paychecks. And I had a very open conversation with him about how much pressure this was putting on me and how I wasn't okay in this situation. And he told me he had been having identity theft issues, and so all of his accounts had been blocked off. So then the next day he came in. One of his other excuses was his mother was going to come down and give him money from upstate New York and come down and give him money to pay me with. And he just all the while kept saying he was raising my salary and giving me other things like paying for my health care when we actually brought on other employees, and all of these very, now I know, empty promises that meant a lot to me as someone without a lot of money at the time.
Didn't he at one point give you a fake check?
He gave me a check at one point and told me not to cash it until the next day, and then called me again the next day and said again, don't cash it yet, because he was waiting for funds to transfer over from an investment account.
So at a certain point, you leave the job, right?
Yes.
How did you leave the job?
So it got to the point where he told me out of respect I should stop coming in because you shouldn't have to ask for what you're owed. He said that, his exact words to me. Ooh. So I started working from home. Every morning I would wake up to a text at like 6 a.m. saying this day's excuse. After about 2 weeks, he finally sat down with me and had a long conversation about how he was this bad person and he needed to take some time off and figure out himself. And he had a big check in his hand that after we'd been sitting there for an hour was just like, I'm gonna give this to you. And was kind of holding it over my head, talking my ear off about how bad he felt and how bad of a person it was. And it was more than the amount he owed me. He gave me several $1,000s extra because he felt bad, I guess. But then, of course, he told me to wait till the next day to cash that check. Then he asked me to come back the next day to give him my company card back. Then I grabbed my books on the way out because I figured if he was asking me to give my card back, he knew I wasn't returning. So I grabbed everything I left on my desk and left, and he was like, so you're really leaving? And then he said, wait to cash that check.
And did you try to cash the check?
Yes, because my father advised me to. I was so emotionally wrecked from the situation, very involved, because I liked the guy when we were working and he was very positive about my performance at work and everything. So I was very distraught at the whole situation. So I finally had to break down and ask my parents what to do, and they kind of were just like, this is what you're doing now. So I tried to cash a check. It went through initially, and then, the next day or 2 days later or whatever, it came back and wasn't cleared.
So you've been pursuing this guy to get your money back, and nothing's come of that?
My parents have a lawyer, so I was using him. He worked out a settlement with the other guy's lawyer for a slightly less amount than he gave me in that last check. But then honestly, I think it was like there was a hurricane in Florida, and he said he couldn't pay me that money when that settlement was due because he needed to give money to his family, which would sound okay maybe if it wasn't followed by all these other things, because he was like 2 more weeks. And then we put together a whole packet of information of all of my emails and all of the evidence I wrote up and sent it to the New York City DA, because that seemed like I couldn't keep paying a lawyer. The DA's office eventually sent a letter saying they weren't going to do anything about it.
So I assume that through all of this, you had to really super hardcore eat into your savings if you had it.
Yeah, I had saved up the most money, just lump sum emergency fund in my life at this point, and it was only about $1,800, but to me it felt like very substantial. I had to use it all up, and then eventually I had to ask my parents for help.
So what would you say are kind of your biggest lessons from this experience?
If someone's not transparent with you on day one, as in they don't offer you a contract to sign, just turn away. Number 2, if there are red flags, listen to them early. Don't wait till it's 2 months in and you've been literally having nightmares every night because you don't know what to do. Number 3, this guy really won me over because he was very nice to me and complimented me professionally a lot, and was also made me seem like we were friends and took me out to lunch every day. So I felt almost obligated to try to make whatever working there work out, because I just had never had a boss act like a friend before.
And you felt like personally attached?
Yes, for sure.
So you would say don't get personally attached in that way?
Yeah, at least not right away. I think you can build up a friendship over time with people you work with, but that's a lot different than someone right away wanting to take you out for beers every afternoon.
So what would you say is your biggest piece of advice to someone who currently feels like they're in a job where they're being mistreated or it's not what was advertised and they really don't know how to speak up and advocate for themselves?
I found it extremely hard to speak up in that situation, and I still think it gets to a point where you understand that confrontation is not going to actually do anything for you, and you need to get yourself out of the situation. So the first thing you have to do is, hopefully, if you're in a bad situation, you're getting paid at least. So start saving up as much as you can. Something I should have done was start freelancing again sooner in my own time. I should have, because I had contacts and I just didn't. Because I was like, this isn't my life anymore. And now, of course, it is again, and I'm much happier. And if you're in a position where you're not being paid or suddenly the funds run out or something from your company, just leave, because you're not there for any other reason.
That's so true. People often try to act like a job is about more than the money, and sometimes it is, but a lot of times a job is just about the money. And more importantly, if a job's not providing you money, then it's not a job. Then you should leave.
Yeah, now I chalk it up to my like 4th unpaid internship experience.
An unintentional unpaid internship. So I'm definitely someone who's not had quite the same experience, but I have had a lot of jobs that weren't exactly what I thought they would be. And like Holly, I definitely wish that I had advocated for myself sooner and started planning my exit strategy right when I started noticing those red flags. Because the truth is, if an employer mistreats you even once, it's very likely that they will continue to do so, and at the end of the day, you don't owe anything to your job if it's not treating you right. As Holly mentioned, these people are not your friends. So as always, thank you for watching, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button and to go to thefinancialdiet.com for more. Bye!